Okay, class, I'll be talking about how to create matching type items. So matching type is about matching the premise and the response. So when we talk about the premise, usually the premise is the one that is found on the first column. And then the response, the one that is found on the second column. Diba? Oftentimes when we see matching type questions, it would say match column A with column B. So your column A would be the premise, the responses is column B. Now, your matching type is appropriate when we need to measure the learner's ability to identify the relationship or association between similar items. And it is best for parallel concepts, and it is also commonly used for simple recall. As you can see, there are multiple choice exams. There are matching type exams wherein the definition is in column A and then the word is in column B. No? That means that matching type is also used in simple recall. Now, let's have some of the things about matching type. So one of the reminder is that when you are making your matching type questions, you should be able to clearly state in the direction, okay, the basis for matching the stimuli with the responses. So although the common example that we can hear, or although the common instruction that we can hear is to match column A with column B, but then as teachers, we should be knowledgeable that that is now it's supposed to be done. Okay? Guys, fellow educators of the future, it's not enough for us to say na match column A with column B. Okay? So how would you give the instructions then? For example, if you will tell your students, column A is the name of the element. Then column B is your column B is the symbol of the elements. So you need to match the name of the element in column A with the symbol of the elements found in column B. Okay, excuse for that. So again, so a very good example of an instruction for a matching type is match column A, which are the name of the elements, with the symbols found in column B. That way, your students are already given the idea if what can be found in column A and column B. Okay? Or for example, you say, match the description of the words found in column A with the terms in column B. That way, your students will be able to say, ay, okay, description pala yung sa column A, pagkatapos sa column B pala yung words. So you are guiding them what they are matching. Or, match the name of the country in column A with the capital in column B. Okay? So you clearly state in the direction which is the basis for matching the stimuli with the responses. And ensure that the stimuli is longer and the responses are shorter. Again, stimuli is longer, responses is shorter. Sir, ano po yung stimuli na sinasabi ninyo? Class, the stimuli is actually the premise. Okay? Your stimuli is also referred to as the premise. In other words, if I would say column A and column B, saan dapat yung mas mahaba yung sentence? Sa column A or sa column B? Saan dapat mas mahaba yung sentence? Sa column A or sa column B? Sige na, ideas please, on chat.
Column A.
Saan daw? Sorry, I was not able to capture. When I talk about longer stimuli, where can I find it? It is in column A or column B? Yes, others? Okay, how about others? Iba-iba yung sagot. A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. Alternating response. Ganun. Okay? So again, I would like to repeat. When I talk about the matching type examinations, your matching type examinations are usually divided into two parts. That two parts of your matching type examinations is your premise, and then you also have your responses. Your premise is sometimes referred to as your stimuli. The second part, class, is your responses. Okay? So class, pag sinabi nating longer, ang longer po is nandun sa stimuli or sa premise. Tapos yung shorter po is nakikita po natin sa responses. Okay? What do we mean by that? For example, I will say longest bone of the body. And then one of my choices here is A is fibula. Pagkatapos yung B naman is femur. Pagkatapos yung letter C halimbawa is another bone. Okay? Class, the description is usually placed on the left side. In other words, class, the longer or the premise or the stimuli must usually be found on column A rather than column B, para it will not be difficult for your students to see it and compare it with the responses found in column B. Okay? So again ha, yung longer po, yung stimuli dapat sa column A natin nilalagay or column 1 natin nilalagay. Okay? Kindly take note of that, fellow educators. So your stimuli must be longer and then the responses must be shorter. That also gives us a hint na hindi po pwede na sentence po dito sa column A, pagkatapos sa column B naman, sentence din. Okay? Halimbawa, sabihin ko, longest bone of the body, tapos dito naman, most delicate part of the body. Okay? It's not like that, no? It will confuse your students and you are not doing simple recall, no? You are actually making their heads ache. Okay? Now, for each item, include only topics that are related with one another and share the same foundation of information with one another. Okay? I'm trying to search right now the capital cities of Southeast Asian countries. Okay, let me see. Capital cities of Southeast Asian countries. So class, halimbawa, we are doing the matching type, no? Sabi natin, match column A, the name of the country with the capital city. Okay, so A is Indonesia. Number 1 is Indonesia. Ano pa yung mga Southeast Asian countries? I'm trying to look here into my search. Then we have Malaysia. Then we have, for example, Philippines. Then we have, for example, Bangkok. Ay, Bangkok pala is not a country. Sorry ha. So you have Thailand. And then what else? Brunei. Okay, Brunei. Okay. Sige, how do you pronounce? Is it Brunei? Okay, I'm not so sure ha. So class, pag naglalagay ako ng choices, okay, halimbawa, Manila will be there. What's the capital of Malaysia nga ba, class? Is it Kuala Lumpur? Okay, Thailand, if I'm not mistaken, it's Bangkok, no? Kindly correct me if I'm wrong, ha? Okay, and then Malaysia, halimbawa, Kuala Lumpur. What's Indonesia? Is it Bali? What's the capital of Indonesia? Jakarta. Can anybody enlighten me? What's the capital of Indonesia? Hindi na memorize ni sir yung mga ganun. Okay, capital of Indonesia. Jakarta. It's Jakarta. How about yung Brunei? What's the capital? What's the capital of Brunei? Yes, what was that? Sino yung naka-unmute?
Sandar Sari Ligawan.
Okay. Ay, ano daw yung mahaba yung name ng capital? The satellite view is showing the national. Bandar Seri Bigawan. Okay, parang nagkamali yata ako. Okay, this is a nice recall of my geography. Anyway, okay. Pagkatapos class, no, since we're making matching type questions, if you can notice, all of the choices there are congruent. No? This is the point that I would like to make. So you include only topics that are related to one another. For example, since I'm talking here about Southeast Asian countries, hindi po wise na magdadagdag po ako dito ng Washington. Because students would already have the idea that Washington is in the US. Or hindi din po pwede na dadagdag po ako dito ng Ukraine. Because Ukraine is another country. Okay? So if we're talking about countries, everything in column A must be countries. Everything in column B must be all about the capital. And since we need to add a distractor, pag sinabi nating distractor is one choice, one or two choices na hindi po siya included sa mga sagot. Okay? So, for example, I will add Singapore because the capital daw of the Republic of Singapore is also Singapore. Okay? So, I will add one distractor. And if you would notice, that distractor is also a capital. Hindi po pa pwede, for example, that I will add the distractor 1905, the year CPU was established. So class, obviously, hindi po yan yung sagot. No? Obviously, hindi po yan yung magiging sagot. So we are only giving options that are aligned also with the information that is given there. Okay, are you getting my point on that? Can I get your response? Anybody? Yes.
Yes, sir.
Okay, sige. Now, there's a point of learning here that we also need to know. Make the responses short. So tulad nga ng sabi ko, pag sinabi kong response, it's on column B. And then class, it should be arranged in a logical order. One way class for you to do it, for you to arrange it in a logical order is that you can arrange it in alphabetical order. Okay, you can arrange it in alphabetical order in such a way that, for example, if sa ulado na ng estudyante, for example, sabihin natin Indonesia, alam niyo ng Jakarta, so class hindi siya mahihirapan sa paghahanap kung nasaan yung Jakarta. Okay, because your choices are already arranged in alphabetical order. Okay, that's one point also. Or another way of doing it is from shortest to longest. Okay, but in cases like this, it's best for you to do it in alphabetical order. Okay, for example, Philippines, alam ko na Manila yung Philippines, so madali lang hahanapin kasi alphabetical order yung choices na binigay ni ma'am or ni sir. Take note, your students must spend time thinking and not spend time hunting eggs. Okay, again, your students, your learners are supposed to spend time thinking and not to spend time hunting eggs. Ibig sabihin, class, huwag yung itago yung tamang sagot sa student ninyo. Okay, we make it easy for them to see it by having the logical order of our choices. And then other than that, we include responses that are reasonable and realistic and similar in length and grammar. So halimbawa, class, no, if I am, for example, looking for the definition of terms, okay? Let's say, for example, basic terms in plant anatomy. Okay? I'm actually searching here kasi hindi ko na masyadong memorize, no? Hindi ko na masyadong memorize yung mga concepts. So please be mindful that when you are having these concepts, please ensure that you can memorize them. Or let's say na lang, let's talk na lang about the changes of matter. Changes in matter. Okay, changes in matter. Let me see. Sige, there are different changes kasi in matter. Okay? So halimbawa, class, no, you will say match column A with column B. So halimbawa, your column A would say it's the change from solid to liquid. Your number 2 would talk about it's the change from liquid to gas. Number 3 would talk about the change from solid to gas. Okay? Now, class, if you would look at it, the same yung structure nila. Okay? The same yung grammatical length nila. The same almost yung form nila. Hindi ko po sinabi na number 1 change from solid to gas. Number 4 naman, tapos kasulat lang sa number 4, liquid to solid process. Okay? Pag magkaganon, parang yung student mo malilito. Bakit ito change from? Tapos biglang may number 4, liquid to solid process. Iniba mo yung structure. So the student will be confused. Okay? So you try to make it change from liquid to solid. In that way, class, they will be able to identify easily kung ano yung gusto po nating ipahanap sa kanila. Okay? So maybe one of the answers there would include condensation. And then another will be melting. You have freezing. Okay? If you are science major, I hope that you will be able to touch on this. Melting, then you have your freezing. Okay, and then let's say for example, we have sublimation. And then magbigay po tayo ng isang distractor. No? Magbigay tayo ng isang distractor, halimbawa deposition. Okay? Now class, if manonotice nyo, I've been repeating na dapat isa lang yung distractor natin, especially in a 5-item matching type examination. It is not advisable for us to use 2 distractors or 3 distractors. Okay? Hindi na po distractor yung tawag dyan, class, no? Pinapalito nyo na po yung mga estudyante natin. Then, you provide more response option than the number of stimuli. Okay, I would like to correct that. You provide more response options than the stimuli. In other words, class, yung sinasabi kong column B, okay, yung sinasabi ko pong column B, dapat nga may distractor siya. And as I have mentioned, there should only be 1 or 2 distractors for that. Okay? Now, I pick up these examples na. I pick up these examples from our reference text. Okay, this is from the book of Balagtas. No? Okay, I pick up these examples. Now, if you would see, this example is considered faulty. Bakit po siya faulty? Ano pong pwede nating i-improve in this type? Sige nga, can anybody tell me what can be improved in this matching type exams? Yes? Rhea, ano pwede kong improve dito? Wala. Desiree, what can I improve for this one? Wala si Desiree. Crystal, what can I improve for this one? Anybody? You can use the raise hand button. Ano po yung pwede kong i-improve? Yes, Marden, go ahead.
Bali, sir, ang bala, sir, ang sa column B, ibutang sa column A, tapos butang ka numbers, tapos ang sa column A, ibutang sa column B, pagkatapos, sir, butang ka letters.
Okay, very good. Very good observation there, Marden. No? So class, basically, we interchange column A and column B because I said earlier that it should be the column A, it should be the premise that is longer. And then the responses in column B should be the one that is shorter. So dapat interchange siya natin. Pagkatapos tama din yung observation, dapat may numbers na nakalagay sa column A. Or else the students will be confused, what number am I on already? Okay? Now, another thing class that can be improved here is the instruction. What is column A and what is column B? Okay, so we can say column A is the description of the flag and column B is the country. So match the country with the description of the flag. Okay, something like that. So that your students will know kung, okay, so that your students will know kung bakit siya, paano siya mas maging clear, no? Okay? How about this one, class? Okay, how about this one? Look at the choices and look at the items. What can be improved on this one?
Ang distractor, sir.
Which is, anong distractor natin dyan, Paul?
1967 dapat, sir, ang bookman sa
1960.
ibang item.
Sige, sige. That's good notice, John Paul. And then, class, if you would observe, no, actually, John Paul, may question siya. Na year ASEAN was established. Okay? And even this item on the question, okay, even this item on column A or the premises need to be improved. Okay? Imagine we're talking here about places. Pagkatapos papasok, year ASEAN was established. Isa lang naman yung year dito. Di obvious ba kung ano yung isasagot? Okay? So class, hindi po siya maganda. What you are teaching here your student is i-identify yung year at saka places, which is not the competency for your high school students learning history or learning geography or learning Asian history for that matter. Okay? Then, sir, ang direction hindi clear. Ang instruction din, sir, hindi clear. Tama. No? So tama, di ba? Sana class kahit nalagyan lang man, column A, country, tapos column B, capital. Okay? Hindi nga clear eh. Ano bang ibig sabihin nito, di ba? Indonesia, siguro Jakarta. Malaysia, siguro Kuala Lumpur. Paano yung Asia? Bakit may Asia dito? No? So, it's a bit confusing. No? So, yes, you're detecting already the problems. Okay? Now, look at this one. Ano naman yung problema natin dito? How about this one? Why is it considered faulty? Maganda naman yung instruction. Match the chemical element with their characteristics daw. Okay? Sige, anybody? What can be improved? Ano po yung mali dito? Yes, Angelica, go ahead.
Wala number sa column A, sir.
Okay, very good. The number on the column A. Yes, that's one thing. What else?
Ang distraction niya, sir, do wala ga relate sa topic ang sa choices sa piyak.
Example, Rhea. Which one do you mean?
Like ang ano, sir, ang goal, ang description bala, sir, sa column A kag sa column B do hindi sila related. Ang duwa nga for example, sir, ang B kag A do hindi siya appropriate nga distraction kay
Iba siya yan, no? Do ka iba siya yan, no? Okay?
yes, sir.
Okay, that's true, no? That's true. Okay? So, tama, no? So, class, if you would notice, no? If I would go back to the instruction, match the chemical elements with the characteristics. And then, if you would look at it, I think Rhea ang nagsala pag idigani yon. If there's something na nagkamali dito, baka sila yung misplaced, no? Okay? So, Rhea was right to notice na yung B and E, bakit parang unique sila? But if you would notice, B and E is actually the characteristics, which is based on the instruction, characteristics. Bakit dito symbols yung nakalagay, di ba? So Rhea was right, there's something wrong with the choices. So kung characteristic siya, dapat characteristics lahat. Kapag symbol siya, dapat symbol lahat. Okay? Or else class, there is again confusion on the part of your students. Okay? So that's one thing that we need to be mindful of. And by which, no, even I as an educator have been guilty of this before I learned these concepts. No, dati-dati gumagawa ako ng matching type just for the sake na may question tapos may choices, bahala na. Okay? But this time, you know that dapat parallel yung concepts. And hindi because na pwede siya, feeling mo matching type siya. Baka mas appropriate na i-multiple choice siya natin kaysa sa i-matching type siya natin. Okay? Now, let's talk about your true or false items. True or false, no? Very common. Kadalasan ginagamit natin siya at the start, no? Kadalasan ginagamit natin siya ng start. Okay? Wait lang ha, I will address a question on matching type. Sir, pwede po bang magpa-solve sa matching type? Bigay ka po ng problem sa column A, then ang sagot po sa column B. Yes, especially for talking about math majors, pwede. Okay? Pwede siya, no? As long as the same pa rin yung concept. Parallel siya dapat yung concepts dito sa column A at saka column B. Ano po yung ibig kong sabihin? For example, if I would want them to multiply, no? Halimbawa, gusto kong multiplication. Okay? If my question number 1 is x minus y, x times x plus y, dapat yung question number 2 ko is something like x plus 2, x minus 3. Okay? X plus 2, x minus 3. Hindi siya pwede, class, na yung isa kong tanong is x squared plus 3x squared tapos plus 8 plus 26 plus 13. Ang skill na dinidevelop ko in item number 1 is multiplication. In item number 2, it's also multiplication. In item number 3, it's simplification. No? Simplifying the terms. So hindi po siya pwede, hindi siya parallel. Pagkatapos doon naman sa choices natin, kapag yung choices natin are product lahat, so dapat product po lahat. Halimbawa, x squared minus y squared is my first choice. Tapos x squared minus x minus 6 halimbawa. Hindi pa pwede na may ilagay ako dito 10, 9, 8. Tapos maglalagay ako ng I. Okay? So the same thing, dapat parallel pa rin yung concepts. Hindi din pa pwede na, for example, questions number 1, 2, and 3 multiply, pero yung question 4, 5, and 6 factor out. Okay? Nakaka-confuse yun sa students. So, okay, John Paul, I hope that answers your question. John Paul, does that answer your question?
Sir, thank you.
Okay, sige. Ha? Isang example pa pala, no? Halimbawa sa properties of addition. Pwede natin sabihin what property is demonstrated. So column A is a sample equation, column B is the property. Try to match column A and column B. Okay? So maraming ganon. Tapos one thing pa pala, no? Okay, sorry, I need to add. It's not wise for us to make a 10-item matching type question, especially in the computation. Okay? Because your students will already be confused. Kung nakikita po ninyo, kadalasang example ko po is 5 item because that's the ideal number of matching type. Okay? So guys, wag kayong magpa-matching type na 20 items dito sa column A, 25 items sa column B. Ha? Babatukan ko kayo. That's not how it's supposed to be. Okay? Eh sir, paano kung maganda talaga i-matching type? You divide it into 4 parts. Okay? Part 1, 5 item. Part 2, another 5 items. Part 3, another 5 items with 6 distractors. Part 4, another 5 items with 6 distractors. Okay, or 6 options, I mean. Sorry, 6 options. And out of those 6 options, 1 distractor. Okay? Now, let's go to your true or false items. If I talk about true or false items, class, no? So, common natin tong ginagamit. Mahilig tayo sa true or false. So, class, your true or false is used to measure the learner abilities, okay, to identify whether a statement or proposition is correct or true, incorrect, or false. Okay, sir, parang obvious yan. Okay, now there are different types. No? So we have your true or false correction or modified true or false question. Okay? Plus, first time ko din itong ma-encounter yung term na true-false correction. That's another term pala for your modified true or false question. So, anong nangyayari? No? You are given a keyword or phrase that is underlined and you supply the correct word or phrase. So, class, the capital of the Philippines is Cavite. So, you need to say whether it's true or not. If you can notice, class, the word that is being identified is the one that could be easily changed. Okay? or the one which is inclined on the concept that you are teaching. Halimbawa, I'm teaching the capitals of the countries. Class, do not underline the word capital. Okay, and then say the capital of the Philippines is Cavite, tapos capital yung naka-underline. Ano pong i-change ng student natin dyan? Okay? Huwag yung sabihin na the not capital of the Philippines. That's not how it's supposed to be. Ha? Class, pag sinabi nating modified true or false, hindi po siya ibig sabihin that if you will say, Ana is beautiful, naka-underline yung beautiful, gagawin mo siyang Ana is not beautiful. Okay, that's not how you test your students. The answer is not supposed to be the negative of what is being underlined. No, hindi po dapat yon yung pag-deliver ng modified true or false. The body has 206 bones. Okay, so 206, that's true, no? So, now, another type is the yes-no variation. Sa yes-no variation naman, instead of true or false, sasagot ng yes or no. Okay, so halimbawa, the following are the bones of the body. You circle yes if it is found on the head, and if no, if it's not. So you have the femur, okay? So femur, hindi yan sa head. So you would expect the student to encircle no. Then zygomatic, that's on the head, yes. Maxilla is also on the head, yes. Clavicle is not on the head, so that would be no. Okay? Now, another type is you have your A-B variation. So instead of yes or no, okay, nagiging A or B siya. Marami pa nito eh. In my values education classes, I would usually encounter na you draw a sun if ever it's true. Pagkatapos kapag false siya, you draw moon. Okay? You draw a smiley if it is true. You draw a sad face if it is false. Okay? Those are different ways for you to do the true or false. No? Hindi po porket sabi natin true or false na lahat. Okay? If you would want to encourage the creativity of your students, if you would want to encourage the creativity of your students, okay, you try to elicit that by allowing them to draw. Okay? So class, you try to include statements that are completely true or false. Ano pong ibig sabihin natin dyan? Just think of this sentence, no? Isipin nyo, sinabi ko, I like apples, oranges, and banana. Paano class kapag gusto mo yung apple, ayaw mo ng orange, ayaw mo ng banana, ano pong gagawin natin? Okay? So what do I mean by that? No? You do not confuse your students. For example, in this case, the presidential system of the government, where the president is the only head of state, is adopted by these 4 countries. Plus, pag titingnan po natin sa history, these 4 countries are indeed presidential. Pero there is a country here, if I'm not mistaken, it is Korea. Okay? It is Korea class that has prime minister, no? If I'm not mistaken. So naku-confuse po sila. True naman dito, pero false yung isa. So parang it's a trap, no? So we do not do that among our students. Then we use simple and easy to understand statements, and we refrain from using negatives, especially double negatives. So class, hindi po pa pwede na sabihin ko, okay, this is an example from the internet, which is easy to understand. Okay, we do not say, I can't get no satisfaction. May can't na tapos may no pa. I can't get any satisfaction would be better. I got no satisfaction would be better. Look at this example here. No? Pag sinabi ko, there is nothing illegal, pwede ko namang sabihin na it is legal to buy food from the internet. True or false? Diba? Rather than saying it's nothing illegal, you're confusing the student. Nothing illegal. Ano nga bang ibig sabihin ni ma'am, ni sir dito? Bakit nga ba may nothing tapos illegal? So it's double negative. It would confuse your students. Other than that, we also avoid the use of the words always and never. Bakit class? Pag may always, tapos true or false. Halimbawa, cell reproduction is always accurate. What's the tendency? Is that a true statement or a false statement? What's the tendency class kapag may always? True nga ba siya or false?
Oh,
Di ba? Class, tama si Kim, no? Tama. The tendency is that false siya. So halimbawa sinabi mo na matter is always absolute. So para magdadalawang isip yung student. Okay? So you avoid using that because it gives them the cue. Okay? It gives them the cue that it is indeed false. Okay? Then you express a single idea in each test. Tulad lang ng example number 1 ko kanina, no? Halimbawa lang ha, hindi nyo pwedeng sabihin yung many countries doon dahil it confuses the students. And then avoid the use of unfamiliar words in the vocabulary, especially if you're dealing with elementary students and high school students. No? Hindi po pwede na mag-assume kayo na, magandang term to. Siguro they understand na what is peridicure. Siguro they understand what is supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. Okay? You don't sound witty by saying that. You actually sound, ikaw yung may problemang bilang teacher kapag yung ginagamit mong words is highfalutin and could not be understood by your students. Could not be understood by your students. Okay? So those are the important things that you need to remember when you are making your matching type questions and then your true or false question. Do you have any questions so far?